Hey everybody, it's Holly from Visit Brainerd, and today I'm here with Donn Rasmussen, who is, I feel like Donn is more like a pioneer man. He's a guy who has been not making maple syrup, but tapping trees to make maple syrup for how long?
Well, since I was a kid, for the last 50 years probably.
So
I
you've
did
got,
with my dad when we were young.
we're out here with Donn and a bunch of people. I would say, like, what do we got, 12 here today, something like that?
10, 12, yeah.
All family, or friends, all family.
They're all family.
And this is just kind of what they do. What I wanted to talk to you guys about, though, is that this is an art or a skill that really anybody can do. We just happen to be in the Brainerd area, and we think that this is something that's pretty cool to share with you. Now, I have never done this before. I've never been a part of the process. I have no idea how this works. So thankfully, Donn's a seasoned pro, and he's got all sorts of information. So if you want to take a look at the bags, if you want to just give us a little history and how this works.
Sure. We start by usually towards the end of March. This year it's early. It's a little later or earlier than normal this year, but the conditions are right. It's gotten warm and during the day and freezing at night, and that's the best conditions for tapping maple trees. This is I don't know if you can see it, but this is the type of tap that we put in the tree.
And do you like hammer it in? That's it?
What we'll do is drill a hole in the tree about 2 inches deep, and then we'll tap this into it. You can see it right there. Tap it in, and when it's running, you can see it dripping right there a little bit. And we got these bags on these holders that we'll put back on here. And what I'll do is dump this, if you want to hold that.
Sure.
I'll dump this in the bucket.
So to me, it's just like water.
Yeah, but it's sweet water. If you taste it, you can taste the sugar in it. It's sweet water.
And so we were talking a little bit earlier. You guys consider this like a smaller family-run operation, and I mean, you guys are just kind of doing it for yourselves, right? And
yep,
because you like syrup.
Yeah, and we sell it to a few people that we know and stuff. And yeah, we do probably 250 trees we tap.
Okay, so when you say that, and then you say that this is a smaller operation, to me that's a little baffling, because that's a lot. You guys should see like all the blue bags that are out here. It's cool, but that's a lot.
It's a lot compared to some people, but then there's some people that tap 500,000 trees, so we're kind of in the intermediate
So
area.
with the amount of trees that you guys tap, how many gallons or how much syrup do you end up with at the end of the day?
At the end of the day or at the end of the season? At the end of the season.
End of the season.
End of the season, we try to shoot for somewhere between 75 and 100 gallons of syrup, which is gonna Maine, we got to collect probably 3,000 to 4,000 gallons of sap to boil that down. Typically, our trees are typically maybe 35 gallons, 30 gallons, 35 gallons of sap will make a gallon of syrup. So it takes a lot of sap.
It takes a ton of sap.
It takes a ton of sap. That's why we got this big crew. We probably got 10 or 12 people out here today, dumping these bags into the buckets. Take them to the truck and put them in a big tank in the truck.
So that's the earliest part of the process,
yep,
right?
The earliest part, collecting it, and then we take it back to where we cook it down and boil it down.
So if people are in the area, I mean, really anybody can do this.
Anybody can, and there's getting to be more and more people doing it in the area.
And basically you just need permission or your own trees on your own property. But easy enough to know people in the area, and you just ask permission if they're not already doing it. And then I would recommend finding someone like Donn who knows what he's doing, so that you can learn the process.
Well, so you get the right trees too.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to tell sometimes if you're not used to what the trees are and what they look like, knowing which is a maple tree, which is an oak tree, which is a basswood. But you find out pretty quick, because if it's anything other than a maple tree, nothing's going to drip out of it.
And how disappointing.
Yeah, and you'll wonder, why is there no sap here?
Right. Okay, you guys, we are at location number 2. We're in a different section of trees where there's more tapping happening, and everybody is out here busy and collecting. So I'm with Jim now. Jim is Donn's brother, and Jim is going to tell us a little bit about what the next step is. But before we do that, we need to talk about what the conditions need to be like in order for this process to even happen.
Well, for the process to even happen, you need good weather. You need above freezing temperatures, say in the 40s, 50s. It's got to freeze at night, really helps. And if it's calm out the next day after that, seems to run real well. And when it's windy, then it kind of affects the run on it a lot of times too. Not always, but most of the time, because I think it kind of cools the treetops and just makes it so it won't run.
So you kind of need you need to really be friendly with Mother Nature.
Oh yeah, you bet. You got to be friendly. Yeah, that's for sure.
In order to make this work.
Yep, that's for sure.
And the window of opportunity is...
Yeah, you never know, because if it could run for 2 weeks straight or more, it could run for a week. But if the weather changes and it gets too warm at night and too warm during the day, it doesn't freeze at night, she'll shut it down, and that'll be the end of the season. So sometimes you have a little time, sometimes you have a long time doing it.
Okay.
And another thing too is, the snow makes a big difference for collecting it and everything else. You need moisture in the ground, and rains in the fall. But
And you've been a part of this process since you were a child as
oh
well?
yeah, for a long time.
I love how you guys are
45 years or more, 50 years.
Also seasoned.
Yep. But then this is nice doing it this year because there's no snow. Sometimes you're up to your waist in snow and you're walking through the woods with pails, and all of a sudden you'll hit a hole or a trip over yourself, and there goes 2 pails of sap, and oh my.
So that's happened.
Oh yeah, it's happened many times.
So tell us a little bit about this process and what's happening.
This process here is everybody brings their pails up here full of sap that we collected. Then you dump it in this little tub here I made. And it's got an automatic float system in it. So when it gets so full, it pumps it up into that hose into the holding tank, which holds about, we'll put 300 and 325 gallons in it. And then we haul it home, and we got another pump, a bigger one we hook to the big tank, and pump it up into our 300-gallon stainless tank that feeds the cooker. So and then that blue barrel there is just extra. We got 2 of these tanks. One's on Donn's truck, and that blue tank there, we got 2 55-gallon drums if we need extra holding space. And we usually have enough for the amount of taps we got out. We can keep up to what we have for capacity. But if you put out 400, 500 taps, we'd need more room to hold everything.
Okay, this is a lot.
Oh yeah.
It's a little crazy, but super cool. I just had a thought though. When you guys are at farmers markets or anywhere where you see true maple syrup for sale, understand this process and what these people do to make that sweetness happen.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work. Like the first batch is usually for us anyway. Every year, like the other day, I boiled the first batch, and heck, we had 400 and some gallons, and boiled it down. It was all water, and probably got a couple, 2 to 4 gallons out of all that, So usually the first batches are just a lot of water in it, and then as it progresses, then it gets better, sugar. And first batches are usually light colored syrup, and then as it progresses through the season, it gets darker and darker and darker, and towards the end, it's really dark. For whatever reason.
Very cool.
I think there's just more nutrients and stuff in it, whatever.
Okay, so we're gonna get all the buckets dumped in here, and then what? Then what are we doing next?
Well, we're gonna go from here over to the last spot we got and collect a bunch more.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. We are back at it. We're here. Not today. We're at Jim's house, where we are cooking the sap that was collected actually yesterday. How many gallons were collected yesterday? 380?
I think we got, what was it, Raz?
385.
385.
So much sap. So all of that sap that was collected now got dumped into...
We got the big
300-gallon
stainless tank there. We pump it out of the truck tank into that tank. And then it's got a hose that feeds the cooker here.
Is this it right here?
No, that's the hose that we use to pump from the tank to that stainless tank that feeds the cooker.
Okay.
And then that runs into the cooker. And then there's a float system on on the evaporator we have here that automatically keeps it certain levels. You gotta watch it now and then and adjust the levels. Got a float there, and then there's another float on the front pan here, which is the finishing part of the sap cooker evaporator that keeps it a certain level. We keep that about 3 inches deep in here. And that whole thing probably holds 40 gallons.
You guys started at what time this morning?
6 o'clock this morning, fire it up, and probably it takes a half hour or so, or 45 minutes, probably a half hour to get to a full roaring boil. So.
And it has to stay at that boil.
Yeah, we
all day.
Keep it fired as hot as you can get it. Probably put wood in it about every 15 minutes. Keep it at a roaring boil all day long until we can cook that 300 gallons down in, hopefully 10, 12 hours.
That's a full day.
Full day of work, and sometimes it's a little tiring, and you sit back and you waiting to fire it, and you get a little tired on a sunny day, and I better go fire because it's getting low.
Yeah. Okay, well let's
now
load
here
this baby up.
She's getting a little low here now on the boil, so we got to keep firing her up. So we just use a lot of different wood, but the best we like is mixed pine and oak.
So this is a whole nother part of the process. You guys have to get your wood split prepared in order to feed the stove. So, wow.
Try to get it processed so it gets good and dry. I can see out back there all the piles we got for next year. So.
Already planning ahead.
Plan ahead, a lot of wood cutting. We burn enough wood here for this sap cooker in a couple weeks to heat a home for a year.
Wow. You must eat a lot of pancakes. You like pancakes?
Love pancakes, but I don't eat them too much so I'll get fat.
Can we take a little peek at what it looks like now? So you guys saw that yesterday it kind of looked like water.
Yeah.
So today...
Well, see, this is kind of hard to get it steamy, but
right.
this is getting to the point where it's getting to be close.
So the coloring has definitely
really
gotten darker. Yep.
And here's where the sap's coming in on the main evaporator. That's just like water. And it's kind of a weird deal because he's got these little segments in here, little channels.
Yep.
And when it first comes in, this is a preheat chamber. It comes in and preheats the sap. Then it goes into the main pan and migrates around and gets different consistencies and pushes the heavier stuff ahead.
So it just kind of does its own thing.
Yeah, it's a weird deal, but I figure that's for a scientist.
Right? Okay, got it. Okay, we are now standing in front of, clearly, a tapped tree. But Donn's going to share with us some tips and tricks, I guess. There's multiple different ways that you can tap a tree. And since he's the pro, I'm just going to let you go.
Well, I don't know if I'm the pro, but
I think you are.
I think yesterday we showed how we tapped our trees, but there are different ways to tap trees. We use these bags, these blue bags, and they're blue and dark to keep them warm when the sun is out. Otherwise, you can see this is solid ice right now. After last night, she froze up. And when the sun comes out, those blue bags will warm up quicker and thaw that ice out. And we try to tap them on the south side of the tree where the sun will get at them early.
Sure, makes sense.
Warm them up. Sometimes on a windy day, we like to leave a little bit of sap or a little bit of ice in the bottom of it after we're done collecting so that it doesn't blow the bag off the tree. And we've had that happen before in areas where there's a lot of wind.
And then the tap is in there and it would still run out, but you wouldn't be collecting.
Right.
Got it.
And this is not the only way to tap trees. We used to use buckets on the ground with a spigot in it, and then we had a tube that ran into the bucket, 5-gallon bucket with a cover on it. And there's plus and minuses about either way of doing it. With the buckets, we got tired of cleaning them out every year and washing them and storing. We had like 300 buckets. And to clean them out every year at the end of the year and storing them, it was a pain. With the bags, the minus on those is if you got a lot of squirrels in the area. Last year we were tapping in a different area, and the squirrels like to nip on the bottom of these bags shoot little holes in them, and the sap's all gone then.
I was
So,
wondering about wildlife
Yeah.
and if there was any problems with that.
We had one year, we had buckets, and the deer came in and started drinking out of them. We didn't have covers on it, and they tip a couple buckets over.
Right.
So you have problems either way. But we like these. They're easier to take care of at the end of the year. We don't reuse the bags
I was
because
going
they're
to
cheap.
ask that too.
They're cheap, and to clean them out would be a pain too.
Yeah.
We just keep the holders that the bags are on and clean those and store those. Another way of tapping is the large operations. They'll use tubes. They'll run tubes from tree to tree to tree. They'll be, if you see where they're doing it, you'll see strings of these blue tubes, like half-inch tubes running from tree to tree through the woods. And they pump them to different storage tanks, and from those storage tanks they'll deliver them to wherever they're cooking. But those are people that do thousands of trees at a time.
A little more of a bigger operation.
Yeah, and a lot of maintenance, and you got to clean those tubes out and stuff, and there's a lot of work there too, and a lot of expense. We like using the bags; they work good for us.
When we are boiling and cooking, you're not adding anything to this. It is as it is.
It's pure sap coming
Right out
from
of the tree.
trees that's boiled down to make sugar out of it. It's sugar water. You could do the same at home if you put sugar in a pot of water and boil that down. You'd get a syrup out of it. Wouldn't have the maple flavor. It wouldn't be as good as this.
I'm going to show you guys what the bubbles look like. It kind of looks like when you're making candy, which is what it would end up doing if you let it sit and boil too long. So
If we don't start drawing it off, it's going to turn to candy.
Right.
So we better draw it off.
You don't want to be dipping your finger through that. A little warm.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Very hot. So we'll draw it off, not real fast, and then we'll keep an eye on the gauge. When it gets down to a certain level, we'll shut it off and take it in and put it in our finishing pan.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Okay. I was going to mention too, the smell, as from the steam, is like nothing I've ever smelled before. It smells good, but it's very sweet. It's like a sweet aroma.
Sweet steam.
Sweet steam.
Sweet steam of success.
They're very nice.
What we've done is, in our evaporator, which is outside here, we brought the syrup to it's just about syrup. And we've drawn it off of there, and we put it through some filters here. We did this yesterday and today. There's like 2 pre-filters and 1 Orlon filter in here that it has to go through. And we put it through there, filtered it out, and then dumped it into this finishing pan. And now we've brought this to a boil, and we're gonna draw it off and see if it's close enough to being syrup so we can bottle it. We use a hydrometer.
I was going to say, this is like a little bit of a chemistry project, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. I don't know anything about chemistry, but yeah, it is.
He's using all sorts of tools and equipment to make this happen. So we're just going to let you do your thing.
Yep, we brought it to a boil now, and I think we're pretty close to
Okay.
being ready. So we'll draw some off, and we'll check it with a hydrometer. Okay, now we filled this little vial with syrup right at boiling. It's boiling in there, and that's where we want it to check it. When it gets cooled down, it thickens up, and it looks like we're right there. Pretty close. Yep, we're right there. Pretty soon we'll switch her out.
How many gallons of sap did you guys collect so far?
We've collected about 2,500 gallons of sap, and that's going to come out to about 60 gallons, close to 60 gallons of syrup.
And you think you're going to be done for the season? Because you said that the sap was done
It
running.
may start up. It's supposed to cool down again, so it may start up. There you go. Good job.
Look at that. You're like a pro.
Now I got to try and put it in there without spilling it on the drink. Yeah, that would be a disaster. Especially in the video. This is one of the most critical stations in the maple syrup process. You can see it's a difficult job. I have to take and
and sterilize the lids in the boiling water. Then I bring them over the head here. And then I gotta wait a minute till the coffee pot, the red light turns on so it gets good and hot, so it stays hot. And in a minute here, and you should always have a beverage because it's a hot job. And it's one of the, it's a critical job. And then I take the jar out here when it's boiling, shake it around a little, make sure there ain't nothing in it. And then fill the jar up. Don't want to spill any on you because she's pretty darn hot. And it wouldn't be good. Fill her up, and then I set it over here for a head. You can put a lid on, a band, wipe the top off there.
So this is, we were chatting a little bit earlier too, this is a lot like any other canning process. If
Yeah.
you can tomatoes or asparagus or whatever it is, we all know it has to be hot. You put the cap on and then now you wait for it to pop.
You just tip it upside
Just
down.
don't put it
That's
in
just tight. That's
hot water.
Just smooth. Don't have to get it
Just
real
like
tight.
that.
Just-
And that's
there
it.
you go. And that's the process there.
Okay, well, you guys, this is it. This is the final product. We have sat with these guys. This has been a process. I don't like when did we start this? A couple of weeks ago, maybe a week and a half, something like that. So I just really wanted to go back again to when I first started meeting with these guys. I had no idea what the process was, so this has just been really, really cool for me to learn and understand what goes into making maple syrup. These guys have been phenomenal. They've been fun. They've been easygoing, and they've been very welcoming to me to teach me the ropes. I think though, when I had started, I had said anybody can do this, and I think that's still true. However, in my case, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go to the farmer's market. and I'm going to buy it. So
There's one more step.
oh, there is. What
It's probably the
what is left?
It's probably the most important step in the whole process.
Okay.
Okay, this is the final step, the most important part. From tree to plate, this is Minnesota nice. And we need the syrup, Jim.
I am so excited to sample. Let's see.
And
Let's
you
see
know
what-
something about this? Bar none. You gotta use Raz's pure maple syrup. Pour it on ever so.
Oh, isn't
Thick.
that pretty? Look
And
at
look,
that.
you gotta juice it up good.
Look at that brown golden
She
color.
ain't bad.
That's the best there is. Tell you what, you can find this at local farmers market. In Brainerd, in Crosby, there's a good one. That's where I sell it. And it's good stuff.
I can't wait.
Enjoy. Minnesota sweet.
I love this. So again, thank you guys, all of you, for your time that you have invested, not only with this process, but just with letting me come in and letting me get schooled in the process and learning everything that you guys do. Let's dive in, shall we?
Here, let me give you a metal fork. Them things ain't worth it.
No, I got it. Okay, here we go. You guys ready? What do you think?
Is it any good?
Oh my God. It's so good. So one more time, where can they find this syrup?
You can find it at the Cuyuna Farmers Market in Crosby.
Only if I,
Raz's pure maple syrup.
and that's only if I leave some left for you to buy. Unless I get it first. Thanks again, you guys.
You're
So-
very welcome. She's
So once again, you guys, this is one more way how we can, love Brainerd like a local. Make sure that you are taking advantage of all of these sweet treats that we have in the area. Thanks again, you guys, for everything that you do.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.